Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Life of Artist podcast. Today, my guest is Erik. He's a good friend of mine, and we both studied at Stella Adler Studio of Acting in New York City. One day, he made a very brave decision, and he moved all the way to the United States to pursue his dream of being an actor. So, without further ado, please welcome Erik. Life of Artist podcast. Hi, so thank you for accepting the invitation. And maybe let's start from the first question, which is what was the reason behind you wanting to pursue an acting and why acting? And if you have like special moment in life that was like a trigger, I want to do this.
Hi, Carolina. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. Why acting? Yeah, good question. Um, I was born in Italy, but I grew up in Belgium, and it's a very small country in Europe. So since I was very young, it was my mom that pushed me more towards the arts, and I was playing piano. I was in Italy, and in Italy, actually, when I was very young, when I was still there, I started doing like small little theaters, and I was putting that together myself with the neighbors and friends there that were doing, and I always loved it. When we moved to Belgium, I kind of went away a little bit with that because yeah, I had new friends there, going to school. I had to learn a new language, and in Belgium, people are more, go to school and learn to do a real job. Don't be too crazy. Don't dream too much into the arts or the sports because that's too crazy. Let's just you know go to school and do business or be a lawyer or be a doctor and be normal. There is not so much to do in the arts there as well. It's very small. There's not a lot of funding or money in the arts industry in Belgium because it's such a small country. There are a lot of opportunities in business and whatever you want, but the entertainment industry is very small. So I never really focused too much on it, or actually never really thought that could be like a career or something I could pursue. There are not really a lot of schools, but I always had it like in the back of my head. And first, I studied marketing at the university in Antwerp, and then I started working for a technology company and for a bank. But I always popped up again in my head like, what if I could study it? What is it? What is this actually? What do you do to actually become an actor? And I was always interested in that, and so I contacted kind of the only school that we have in Belgium, where Belgian actors go to, the ones that you would see on TV, um,
Mm.
or like in a play or so. The only five we have, and I asked them this question about like what do I have to do like to study acting, and they were like, well, if you actually want to pursue this really professional and you can go abroad, it would be better to study at one of the schools in the US or in London. And they gave also a few in Germany. And I wanted to go to the US because I was just thinking about Hollywood, of course. And they gave me Stella Adler,
Mm.
where we met. And previously, I went to the first school
Where we
I went
met,
to.
exactly.
Yeah, where we met, and I went to in the school in LA first. The not the one we met in New York, but the other one that was founded by Stella after she founded the one in New York. So I studied there first, and then I moved to New York and I started at Stella Adler in New York, and that was the start of this acting adventure.
Wait, I didn't know about the Los Angeles part of the story of the journey, but wow, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. I was also in LA, so that was the first place I lived in the US before moving to New York. Because yeah, I was thinking about Hollywood and acting, right? I wanted to be in Los Angeles,
Mm.
California. That was like the dream, and I enrolled for. So Stella started two schools. One first in New York when she moved to LA when she was old. She started the one in Los Angeles. That's where Mark
Mm.
Ruffalo went to school, and he's still part of the board of directors of the school in LA. When she died, the two schools split, the one in New York
Mm.
and LA, and that's why now they're kind of like yeah separated. And the school in New York, where you went as well, they started also one then separately in LA. It's called the Art of Acting. in Los Angeles. But the one I went, so yeah, it's a separate one, and I was there for a couple of months. But they have kind of a different type of program than the one we went in New York. So as an international student, you have to go through
Oh,
visa stuff and all kind of that. Um,
yeah.
and the one in New York is actually a little bit more interesting if you are an international student because of the visa structure that they do there, the F1, and then the OPT that you get is longer. So you get a little bit more time um, to be in the US and build up your work towards your O1 visa afterwards and all that stuff.
All the crazy more paperwork required visas.
Yep.
So, like comparing, Belgium and like Italy and Europe, like what do you think? What is the biggest difference, like in terms of like being an actor? Because like you fluently speak those languages, and like here you're kind of having an accent with the English, right? So like, what difference do you see between like those two markets itself? Like, you think you better studying out here in the States because you're like an expat, or in Europe? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, actually, I mean, Italy is pretty big in the arts, so there are opportunities. But just
Mm.
like Belgium, it is still a small world, very small to get into. You will need a lot of important connections that allow you to be part of this world. Uh, and in Belgium, it's the world is even smaller because it's such a small country, where the industry is then already so small that it's very difficult to get into it. And I, thanks to the fact that I studied in the U.S. and I was the first Belgian to graduate from the Stella Adler school, um, I got a little bit
Mm.
of recognition and I got to know some people, but still, it's very, very difficult to actually get into the entertainment industry in Belgium or Italy. I'm not sure if Poland is kind of similar, but yeah, I feel like the world is so small that you always need kind of those connections. While I feel like in the US, because yeah,
Yeah.
the US is business, the world is so big there that you always have kind of opportunities to do something in it, and you find your representation, your manager, or an agency that represents you, and then start doing auditions. And I've actually, yeah, even when I was studying, I was getting some auditions and did some things there. While in Belgium, it's very difficult even to get an audition already. So I feel like the opportunities are better in the US somehow, because if you work hard there, you always have something coming back. um, and there is just so much work. So I've been able to actually do some stuff
Yeah.
in the US in acting. I've been also doing like a lot of voiceovers the past year and months in Chicago. I found a really cool group there that started for Relevant Radio, and they're doing these voiceovers around the Saints. It's really fun stories for children and for adults. So that's something different, but it's also like in acting. The group is really cool there, and they cast all actors around the
Yeah, of
U.S.
course.
as well.
It's a
So
forum. Yeah.
yeah, so I feel like the difference is really like probably first the amount of work. There is much more work in the U.S., so that allows like to open up
Mm.
to like have a lot of people involved in it, and the way maybe the industry is set up. There are not a lot of agencies in Belgium. Again, probably because yeah, there is not a lot of work in it, um, and it's different how they how it's structured. It's hard to get into it. It makes it a little not so motivating when you start and you can't even kind of get an audition, or yeah, you always see like the same people on TV. While in the US, obviously you have like the top actors out there, but there are so many things you can do.
So, like you said, like it's kind of more similar in Poland, I have a feeling. But so you feel like if someone in Belgium is an actor, so it's like kind of they're gonna be in every TV series, they're gonna be in every single theater show. Like they're like it's very close community. Like so, it's very hard to get into. It's break the ice, kind of. You know.
Yeah, you immediately kind of hit like a closed door, because yeah, the
Mm.
ones that go to like the only good school that we have in Belgium are the ones kind of that get the connection and then start working. And obviously, yeah, it's kind of normal, of course, that they want to protect also their future and their job into the industry. And but yeah, I when because I was a little when I went to the US and I studied in LA, studied in New York. I was the first to graduate from
Mhm.
Stella Adler from Belgium, and I thought like, oh, I'm gonna get. My first idea was, oh, I might be able to also do some work in this industry in Belgium. But yeah, they
Mm.
didn't really care so much that I studied abroad. When I thought like, oh, it's actually good because you get experience in a different country and you get experience in the US where you have the best schools for acting are in the US. So I thought like,
Yeah.
you get that experience, it will be appreciated. But I feel like it didn't really matter so much, and it's more about who you know there than the experience
Mm.
you get maybe studying in another school. While I feel like in the US, it was easier to get started. People are more embracing like somebody who just wants to work and wants to do it. Obviously, I think it matters where you study. Also in the US, that you have
Yeah.
some good technique and you went to Stella. You also followed classes at Juilliard. When I was in New York, I worked for a theater there, and we were
Mm.
working with Juilliard all the time. Um, it matters a bit, of course, where you study because it just proves like what you can and what you learned, what techniques you're able to understand, and what you yeah, just like when you study for a different industry, when you become like when you study business or finance
Mm.
or go to a medical school, it proves kind of like what you're able to do and then get your first job. So it is important, I feel, to study acting, the technique, and everything around it, also in the US. But it's easier, I feel, to get started somehow. It's not so easy to start on Broadway, but it's easy
Yeah.
to get your first acting job. Feel like even commercials, there are so many. There is something every single day. So if you really want, it's easier to get your feet wet in the industry and build up your career there.
So, like, with all the experiences, like, in learning about the craft of being an actor, what is the worst advice you have heard during like the journey?
The worst advice, interesting. The worst advice. Um, I think it was from a journalist, but it was not really advice, more like some like criticism or like a question, like why would you do it? Or it was from in Belgium, and because they would ask like, why would you go there? Why would you go to the US to study there? You can study some stuff here. Why taking the risk?
Mm.
But I feel like if you don't take the risk, you will never know. You will have like, this what if, like if I did this,
Yeah,
and it's better, I think, to fail in something than stay with that question for the rest of your life, because you know you can always fail and do something different, and that's fine, and or redo it. Maybe you didn't work out and you do another school
absolutely.
and it's going to be better, or you like it more, or do it in a different country, or whatever you do. But it's okay to go through it, because if you don't know, you don't want to know if you don't do it. I feel the difference between making or not is just doing it, and it's very, for a lot of people, it's hard to just do something. It takes a lot of effort to bring an idea to life and actually start doing it. um, so yeah, the worst things that I hear also for the projects that I'm working now would be like it's somebody like kind of, you will always have some people that be like, why would you do that? Why are you not doing something different? Try
Mm.
to maybe keep you from taking that risk. um, and I do feel like in the US, they're a little bit more, or much more accepting. If you say like, oh, I want to start a company, I want to act, people are more like, oh great, what are you gonna do with it? Like, where are you gonna go? What are you doing? Which company are you
Yeah.
starting? What's a project, or what's like, where are you gonna study acting? Oh great, well, you want to be an actor? So it's more like, it's better to hear that, I feel, than immediately hearing like, why would you do this, and are you sure? Are you going to invest so much money in
Mm.
it? Are you thinking about your future, and why, is it not better to do something different? So it's been mostly that I heard. Um, and yeah, it was not from friends or so. It was more actually from people that I don't know so much. That was actually the strange thing. I feel like my friends were all kind of like,
Oh, interesting.
we knew that he would be going to do something different. But some people that I actually don't know so much, they would be like, "Why would you do that?" So yeah, that has been. It's not so much advice or so, but I feel like, yeah, somehow it is. Uh, it's not like straightforward advice, but it will try to tell you, like, kind of like, don't do this, do something different. That, and especially then in something like acting, that is, it doesn't feel to many people like something like a real job, or like something achievable or tangible, or because, yeah, people are not used to know, like, working actors or so. It's not like, oh, I know somebody who works in a bank, um, and they will try to, like, keep you away maybe from that, to give you some advice, because maybe some of them wanted to do themselves something similar or so, but they were not able to, because, yeah, yeah, like I said, and it's nothing good or bad, but it's not so easy, I think, to really do something, get from an idea to a finished product.
So like if you said like what like we were talking about the like the advices that people were giving to you, but I have a feeling they don't have the understanding of pursuing the art as a creative like creative thing, and like you can make actually money from it, or you like we all struggle, like we have to make a lot of sacrifices, but I think we are in our world we're so like drawn into, oh, you have to make the money, you have to make this living, kind of like buy a house, like we're chasing those like kind of very very everyone kind of dream, and like some people have different dreams, so like maybe that's why they came with that kind of advice. But
Sorry.
in terms of like advices, what was the best one that you received?
Uh, yeah, to come back, I think maybe that's also that, yeah, people don't really maybe realize that you could have a career, like, because they don't know what it is to have a career in the arts or entertainment industry. It's so far sometimes until you get in there and start understanding that it's a business, like, could be a business like anything else. Um,
Yeah.
best advice. Um, best advice was to people. I think when I was moving to the US, I got some cold feet, and I had that mentality a little bit when I was younger, of like always getting to something that I really wanted to do, and then I would be like, I won't, oh no, I won't do it. I was starting to doubt, and like, oh no, no, maybe I shouldn't do it, and then I wouldn't do it, and then I would regret not doing it, because I would be like, what if I did it? And I had it with soccer. That was my big dream. And when I was going to the US, I actually I was supposed to go. It was June 24, and I was supposed to take the plane. I didn't take it, and my mom said, "I'm going to rebook your flight, and you're going to be on the plane tomorrow, whether you like it or not, because you're going to do this now, and you're going to go to that school, and you're going to finish this thing. Because I don't want to hear anymore that, like, what if I did this, and what if I didn't." So she said, "You're going to do it, and it doesn't matter if then it doesn't work out, but you just do it." So that was the first one, and I'm happy I did it, because, yeah, I missed the plane. I couldn't have, maybe I wouldn't have done it, and it was the best decision I've ever made, to step on that plane and go on to this adventure. Um, and then when I was working in a theater in New York, the founder was Margot Harley. She told me, like, if you can only choose for this type of career if you can't do anything else, if you need to do it, and it comes from somewhere in you, because it's going to be really hard. And she was really honest about it. Whether you're an actor, a writer, a director, a producer in this industry, it's not that easy. um, And she said, if you can do something else that you like as well, if you don't really have that need to do it, then don't do it. Do something else. It's going to be much easier. You're going to make more money and you're going to be more happy doing something else. But if you really want to, if you really like this, if you can't do anything else, if you, every time you wake up and you have to kind of tell a story or do something about it, then do it. And it's going to be um, an adventure. Is going to be difficult sometimes. It's going to be hard, but if it's something you need to do, then you have to do it. And I feel like, yeah. So I was like, yeah, I have to do this because every time I'm there, everything brings me back again into this world. Like I want to tell a story. I come up with an idea. I want to share this, and you probably know that perfectly as well.
Mm.
It's something. It's hard to explain, but it comes from something somewhere in you that you need to do something creative, or like
Yeah,
tell a story, or make something, or
yeah.
write something, or direct something, or produce like something you want to share with other people. Um, so yeah, I feel like those two advisors were similar. That you make the step and do it. And yeah, I've always kept that in mind. And sometimes I wonder, like, oh, and I feel like, oh, look, I'm doing against something because I just can't stop it. Or I message my uh, co-founder of the production company we started, and I'd be like, hey, we need to tell, we let's make this, or like, what about this one? And I'm already thinking about other stories we should tell, like next year and things. So, and then I think like, oh, why am I actually thinking about this? And it's probably something you have in you that you have to like share things with the.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's I kind of like it's hard to explain, but I think we're having this like brain that's never shuts down in terms of
Yeah,
being creative. Like, we like we have to be creative sometimes, like too much. But like we always have something to going on in your brain. Oh, we can try this, you can try that. And like I think after years of experience, like Elaine, I don't feel ashamed of failing. Because me after Stella, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have like American acting school on my resume. I will be able to work. Guess what? COVID happened, and like other things happened in life. I was like, oh, that's not that easy. Actually, how it's supposed to be. So I have like this awakening call after acting school, but I think I still wake up every day with the same feeling. Like, I'm gonna do something about it. Whatever is an email or something, I'm gonna just send out and like reach out to people. And I think you're coming from the same kind of like I have a feeling from the same kind of like need from the stomach, I believe.
yeah. And as you said, I mean, we graduated at the same time, and then a few months later, COVID started. But look, you're back there in New York. You're back doing stuff. So it means that you had to do it again. You had to do something, right? And it brought you back to the States. And that's how strong that passion is, or that need is from the stomach, like you said, to do something about it, and act, or produce, or write, or whichever route you choose to pursue. But if it's so strong, you'll find a way back to it, and it brings you back there, and you'll keep pursuing it.
And like we touched on that topic, but I have a question here. Like, in your opinion, like what is the importance of the building network in the industry as an actor? Like, do you think reaching out or like sending cold emails, it's okay? Like,
Connections, networking, yeah, very important, like in any other industry. I come from a different background originally, before I moved to the US to study acting. And I feel like that helped a little bit to see it as a business, and not so much just as an art. I saw many people who just study that, just study acting or something in the arts, miss a little bit the business part. And it's hard sometimes to understand that it's a business, just like any other business. And just like any other business, it's important to make connections and network and meet the right people. You can always meet the wrong people, and you can always meet the right people. So it's important to get to know people you want to work with, you can trust, you can learn from, you can grow with.
yeah,
And yeah, as it's a business, I was telling in the beginning about the fact that in Belgium it's such a small world, so you really need connections, and be connected to the right people to get into this industry. Even though in the US it's going to be easier because you have a way bigger market. Also, there, obviously, it's important to meet the right people that can help you grow in that industry, and you can learn from. Um, it For some people it might be a little more natural. For some people, a little less. It's not always fun to put up your networking hat and go network. Um, and it depends also from place to place. I feel like New York, Chicago is really more professional. LA might be sometimes a little strange and crazy there. Um, I met, you know, the most professional people always like in New York, and now in Chicago, being there a lot for the podcast and that we are doing. Um, yeah, and then it's it has to come natural also. When you connect or not with people, and you'll find people you might not really connect with, and some that you can, and then maybe you can start working together on a project, or share some ideas about things you're doing and get some feedback, and that's usually kind of how it starts. And then maybe you'll find something that you relate to together, and maybe you want to work on it. Let's Could be, especially in the arts, I feel like it's going to be more like that, and then you're going to maybe start creating a story together, and build this together. But yeah, connections are important, for sure, and it's important to keep building around that. And when you go to an event, or just like in another business, you would go to a conference, if you go to a film festival, to meet some good people there, because you can always learn from other people. And I feel that's maybe
Yeah.
that's the first mindset that you should have. Like, maybe I'll meet somebody I can learn from, that has more experience than me. That's kind of how I see it always. I just always want to learn more. um, and I approach it like from that way. I want to learn from somebody, like I'm really interested, like what is he doing, and I want to learn from this person. And then other things will fall into place and come natural, and because I mean, it's maybe not so good to just step to somebody, and that is so obvious you want to make money. So, and say, like, give me a job. That won't work. uh, it
Yeah.
should be genuine, and yeah, people are also, they're not stupid. So if you go approach people that way, then they
Of
will
course.
also
No,
be
I
like,
think they can smell that.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I'm coming to my last question that I prepared for you, and I think I'm asking every single person on this podcast, but I think it's very deep, important question for me, like how I keep myself inspired. But the question is, what is in this season of your life? What is the thing that keeps you motivated and keeps you inspired doing creative work?
This is a deep question. um I feel like, well, for me, maybe the company that I started, for sure. So after, when we graduated, after Stella Adler, 3 months later, Corona started, and everybody had to stop
Yeah.
working in as an actor or director or producer or writer. Everything kind of changed, and I felt immediately. But I went back into marketing, um, because I needed a job, and yeah, I had that experience from before. But obviously, I always thought, like, wait, I came here to the US with a different purpose and a different goal, though. I don't want to do the same job here that I would do in Europe or in Belgium, because then I could have stayed there. And I really wanted to do something different. So I also just felt immediately that the industry would shift and change towards, people doing other things than just the one thing that they were doing. There were obviously already actors that were writing, or writers that were acting or directing, but I felt like it was going to be much more because of this world that was changing in any other industry because of the corona back then. Um, and so I met my fellow business partner who started the company with me back then in New York. He's also from Belgium, and he reached out to me because he had some questions about all the visa stuff. Because he read an article that
Mm-hmm.
appeared in Belgium about me and doing this adventure at Stella Adler. And so we met in New York, and I was telling him like, hey, maybe we should work on something together, on write a short film or something, because yeah, there is nothing we can do right now. And so we started both with an idea, something that's, and I'm gonna go a little outside of the thing, but uh, about child trafficking that we really wanna, that we're trying to do now, and set up, because we wrote a short film, but it was so much that we wanted to tell that we went bigger, and we wrote a pilot for it, and that was kind of the start of something. And I felt like, hey, what if we actually start our own production company, so we could create our own work and pitch it and start doing our productions. Because of my background in marketing, I thought, what if we actually add also a creative agency that focus on brand and design, and we create commercials and stay in the very creative side of marketing. So we started this company, Movart, a year and a half ago now, and started doing a bunch of work. And I feel like that's basically what keeps me inspired now, the company, because I want to make it work. And that's what brought me also to the Philippines to do a documentary here. And we have some clients in the United States that we're working for now, and that keeps you very busy and motivated to stay creative and
Yeah.
grow the business. But both sides of our business are very creative. So we have we call it our studio side, where we focus on film or documentary work. And then we have our creative agency side, where we focus on commercial work for clients. But we are a creative agency, so we do branding, design, and video production. And we partner with a virtual production agency from Belgium to do virtual production. So yeah, this is probably mostly the biggest thing that keeps me motivated and busy, to stay creative and come up with new ideas. And we have a bunch of things that we really want to realize. And yeah, the next project would be, for example, this story we like to tell about child trafficking, because I feel like it's a very important topic that not enough people talk about. And yeah, so the company, growing your little business, is something that definitely keeps me motivated to stay creative.
But just watching from like the social media, I'm like super proud of you. Like like because other people are giving up, like especially after COVID. I was like, Eric, it's keep doing and living the life that you want, and that's so beautiful.
Thank you, Carolina. Same though, same. I'm happy you're back in the States. I'm proud that you like kept doing it and keep pursuing this. Not a lot of people can do it.
Thank you for listening. It means the world to me. But I need you to ask you a quick favor. Can you please click and subscribe? And see you in the next one.